Welcome to the game. I'm Russ Cohen. We've got Nikco Riesgo. Nikco, how are you?
Russ Cohen, my man.
And Mike Augello, how are you?
Howdy.
All right, so let's talk a little baseball. I'll get the Mets out of the way quickly, and then we'll have Mike get the Yankees out of the way quickly. Neither made the playoffs. I mean, it was a bad year for the Mets. I don't care that they traded Verlander and Scherzer. They had to pay their way to get some prospects. It's really not the way you should do it in baseball. But Billy Epler is just not going to get fired. He's going to get stay in the same job and have a new boss. There'll just be another layer of management with David Stearns in there. So we'll see how that all goes. And in the end, I don't think they're going to be a playoff team next year because they could go after Soto. They're still going to have to give up major assets to get Soto, so that would be working against what they want to do. And they need like 2 starting pitchers, 3 bullpen guys, and still probably another hitter. So it's too much. So I don't care how much money you have. I don't expect the Mets to make the playoffs next year. Mike, what's your take on the Yankees?
Well, ironically, when the pressure was off and when they started calling up all their kids, they started playing better. And apparently, they have the best record in Major League Baseball in September, which is completely meaningless since they're not playing for anything consequential. Their top prospect, Jason Dominguez, blows out his arm and has to have Tommy John surgery, so he probably won't be back until the middle of next year. But the indications are right now, sort of like similarly to the Mets, is that Aaron Boone's not going to get fired and Brian Cashman's not going to get fired. Right now, the talk is they're going to have some sort of independent arbitrator or independent evaluator, come in and look at their analytics, look at their evaluation of players in terms of trades, in terms of injuries, and they're going to do everything other than what the fans really want them to do, which is to fire Boone or fire Cashman. They're just simply not going to do that, and they're probably going to go into next season bidding on the Japanese pitcher or going into free agency and adding a pitcher and trying to get a center fielder. I mean, it's going to be basically what they do all over again. The one thing that it may be encouraging, and I don't know if they'll do it next year or maybe after next year, barring any kind of improvement, which I don't foresee happening. It seems like there's a movement afoot to buy out the last few years of Giancarlo Stanton's contract because he simply can't run anymore. He can't do anything other than hit home runs. He can't play the field. And, $27 million on the books for 4 more years for a guy who's an anchor in the lineup. It just seems that Hal Steinbrenner has reached a point of being annoyed to the point that he's going to make some changes, but probably not the changes that a lot of fans want them to do.
That's fair. Nikco, any thoughts on the Mets or Yankees?
It sounds like for both cases, it sounds about 10 years. I mean, you say it's going to take a couple of years.
It's not going to take
like
10 years.
Yes.
Oh, please.
They need help, and I don't see any help in the near future. So I don't see any help. Like I said, possibly 10 years. They can put something together, make the playoffs. We're talking make the playoffs and possibly win a world championship.
Okay, but Nikco,
friggin' break.
The Mets added Francisco Alvarez, who's hitting a lot of home runs and is really good behind the plate. They've added Ronnie Mauricio, who's ripping the ball off the cover off the ball, and Brett Beatty, who's a little up in the air, but still a pretty damn good prospect. They added all of that this season. How could it take 10 years? It's not going to take 10 years.
Here it is. They have a history of incompetence. So when they have talent, they don't know what to do with it. It's mismanagement. And They let go of their season. This was their chance. They had that chance. They had the players. Yes, they have the Beatty. Yes, they've got the Mauricio. Call them up early. They should have put it all in this year. They put all the money in. Let's go for it. That's how this game is. You start off slow. It's rocky. It's up and down. Them dog days make you who you are. And the Mets were ready for those dog days. And the ownership, because they don't know a clue about the game, gave up on them. And it's a crime. That's what I call the criminal crime family.
Had they done that, they would have gone 60 and 102, and they'd be in a bigger friggin' hole than they are in right now. They actually were smart enough to bail out of Scherzer and bail out of Verlander when they had the chance, get some prospects. I mean, just like what Russ said with the Mets. The Yankees have Dominguez. The Yankees have Austin Wells, who's a pretty good prospect. They have a couple of the outfielders and Pereira. They have Peraza. They have Volpe. They have a lot of good young players. It's a simple question of letting those kids play, which they, in 2016 they did that with guys like Gary Sanchez and a guy named Aaron Judge, and they ended up having a benefit to that. They did that this September. Unfortunately, Dominguez got hurt, but I do think it's got to be sort of a marriage of bringing young guys along and making like key veteran signings, and the Yankees will be a playoff team next year. There's not a doubt in my mind they will, unless Aaron Judge goes down for 3 months like he did this year.
You know what? I would want to stake on that, Mike, because I think I told you before in our first show of the year that the Yankees wouldn't even make the playoffs this year, and you guys laughed at me. I told you the Mets were probably
you probably said that.
You laughed at me. But no, definitely not next year. They were so terrible this year. It's going to carry into next year. Now, Jason Dominguez is a beast, but they got no pitching. They got Cole. And that's
the pitching is a problem for the Yankees.
They've got the Cy Young Award winner.
No, but pitching's a problem, though. It is.
No, I said Cole. That's about all they got is Cole.
Yeah, I mean, Michael King has pitched great since they made him a starter in August. Cortez will be back from injury. I mean, the thing is,
Severino shot. Like, they need two starters.
Severino is a free agent. They're not going to bring him back. Montas never pitched for him. He's gone. Cortez is coming back from injury. Rodon this season was a disaster. I mean, nobody foresaw that. I mean, I think he can come back. He didn't. He just was. He got hurt from the outset and never.
No, he'll be
really
back. I mean, but I think it's a problem. The other thing, Nico, is Buck Showalter is going to step down, so the Mets will have a different manager next year too.
Thank you, Buck.
That's going to be a whole, that's a whole different thing. All right.
Is that official? Is that official?
No, it's not official.
Okay,
but I believe that will happen. All right.
Okay.
I'm going to the last game of the year, so I believe the next day it'll happen. So
you're bringing a bye Buck sign with you.
Yeah, and we're crossing our fingers.
Yeah, I'm going to burn that. Congrats to the Braves. They do look like the best team in baseball. The funny thing is Phillies fans don't care because the Phillies beat the Braves last year, but and I know they beat them in '93. They've had a little bit of a history against them, but this is a fully complete team, a way better team than even last year. And if I'm the Phillies fans, I don't want to play the Braves. I don't know how you guys feel.
You're absolutely right. The Braves are scary, and especially playing a guy named Ronald Acuna. He could arguably be one of the greatest players who ever even played that we're even watching in our own eyes. This guy is amazing. 70 stolen bases, 40 home runs, power, speed, defense. It's amazing talent. And then they got Olsen. They got, Ozzie. They've got and even the third baseman is just phenomenal.
Austin Riley, yeah.
Austin Riley, yeah. And then the starting, they got, 3 top-notch pitchers to start. I mean, I would say there's nobody going to beat the Braves except possibly the Astros.
Okay.
Oh, God.
Moving through. Hold on. We'll get to the Astros hate, Mike. Hold on.
Well, no. I was going to talk about the Braves.
Okay.
I think the only team that can beat the Braves is the Braves. Last year I thought that they were going to come out of the National League, and they lost to a Phillies team that I think they should have beat. Now I think they're a lot better this year, and Acuna has had a fantastic year. But as we've seen from the Dodgers year after year, they beat themselves. So is it impossible that the Braves lose and not get to the World Series? I mean, it's very possible that they could. So I think they're the favorite, but that doesn't mean they're definitely going to make it.
Yeah, I mean the Dodgers and the Brewers are the other clinching teams. And the Brewers, I put in an article on Full Press that spent 262 million, something in that range, less than the Mets to win that division. So congrats to them. Maybe Stearns will be like Glenn Sader in hockey and say that now that I've got a lot of money to spend, I can win it all. Well, yeah, Glenn Sader said that in hockey, and it never worked out when he left the Oilers, went to the Rangers. But that's another
I wouldn't give
that's
David
another
Stearns
show.
all the credit. I wouldn't give him all the credit for the Brewers. He's a great executive, but I think the Brewers' success lies on their manager.
Craig Counsell, yeah, who the Mets are going to try and steal. The Mets are going to try and steal him by overpaying him. I don't know if it's going to work.
That would be a good thing. Now Stearns bring in someone in Counsell. He's the difference in Milwaukee. If the Mets get him, they definitely have a chance to take the 10 years down to possibly 5.
Oh my God! Jesus. Listen, Mets fans, don't listen to that. Anyhow,
and Nico and Hyperbole are brothers.
They are brothers. It's interesting though that other than the Phillies, who clinched early, still the Diamondbacks, Cubs, and Marlins are all in it. The Mets put a little hurting on the Marlins, but not enough. Them and the Cubs are tied. I always look for chaos. So if it went to like game 164, because the Cubs and the Marlins, although they wouldn't have to play anymore, right? They just do percentages and stuff. I like when they used to go play an extra game, but I think it's percentages now. So I don't think it could happen. But Diamondbacks, give them credit. I mean, they're a game and a half up. I don't know if they'll go far in the playoffs, but just the fact that they made it this year, that's a big deal for them.
Go ahead, Nico.
Yeah, who was that?
Diamondbacks.
The Diamondbacks.
The fact that they look
Diamondbacks
pretty good to make it, yeah.
Phenomenal. We haven't seen the Diamondbacks play this well since the World Series days. So they have come on. They came on strong at the very beginning. They had a kind of a bad kind of few months there in between the season there, and then they really picked it up at the trade deadline, and they're making a run for it. It looks like they're in for sure. It's going to be exciting to see how they do it. They got one of the best pitchers to start them off there, and it's going to be
Zach Gallen.
Dogfight, yeah, with Galen. Is that his name?
Zach Gallen, yeah.
Gallen, yeah.
I don't know if they've got enough to win it all, but they do got enough to win a game or so in the playoffs and really have a lot to be proud of what they've accomplished this year.
Okay,
well,
and then
they have the poor man's Acuna and Corbin Carroll. I mean, he's 52 stolen bases, 25 home runs. He's having a really good year. I mean, Christian Walker's over 30 home runs. The problem is they don't have enough offense. They got 4 pretty decent hitters, and then really it's sort of patchwork. So yeah, I give them a lot of credit for they're basically making it on their pitching.
Tommy Pham, I know that.
Oh yes, you can't stop them. You can only hope to contain them. But yeah, they really don't have enough offense to go far. But in a playoff situation, guys who hit 220 can all of a sudden come alive. So yeah, I mean, I don't think they're going to go very far, but I give them a lot of credit for doing what they've done.
Yeah, it could be like Brian Doyle. Looking at the American League, credit to the Baltimore Orioles. They had just a hell of a year, man. They were great from start to finish. We're going to have to say rest in peace to Brooks Robinson, who I think is the greatest field and third baseman of all time. Nobody made the barehanded play like he did. I did have a chance to meet him once, and he was a real gentleman and just an unbelievable stud in the field, but did actually do some hitting in his career too. People forget he had a few 20 homer seasons, but good for Baltimore. I mean, they're loaded. I do think they have a chance. Texas is scary, but the funny thing about Texas is, like, Scherzer, I think, could be back. DeGrom can't. But imagine if they had DeGrom and Scherzer at some point. Like, that would be unbelievable, but it's not going to happen.
It sounded like Scherzer was not going to be back. At least those were the initial reports. I don't know if
but I kind of wonder about that.
Yeah, I mean, I do give them. I mean, if it wasn't for Ohtani, I think Corey Seager could make a case for AL MVP because he's had a fantastic year hitting in the 330s with some power after a first year in Texas that wasn't good. But their lineup has been pretty deep. Simeon has been really good. Their catcher Jonah Haynes was from Western New York, has been really good. Yeah, they sort of finally shaken loose from that usual Texas ability of throwing tons of money at a guy who ends up like doing nothing, either by the guy just not producing or getting hurt. Unfortunately, that happened to DeGrom. I have to say though, when you're going back to Baltimore for a second,
Well, hold on. No,
I
don't
think
go back to Baltimore because I
okay,
didn't read anything about Scherzer. This was just like a gut feeling. And
yeah.
SI did an article last night saying he's pitching off the mound. So now they're questioning.
Okay.
So I just know the kind of competitor he is. I think he's going to give it a shot. So what do you think about Baltimore?
I mean, it's amazing that a organization that was so chaotic and so pathetic for years and years. I mean, that's what the thing that's happening right now in hockey with the Buffalo Sabres, where they were bad for a decade and ended up drafting a bunch of good young players. And Baltimore has done the same with, Henderson, as we've mentioned,
Yeah,
and
Mountcastle's really good.
Mountcastle, and now they have, even though he hasn't played in the majors, but next year will be Jackson Holiday. I mean, they've just got, their lineup is really, and the catcher Richmond is fantastic, and their pitching is gotten better. So they have taken advantage of the fact that a couple teams in their division got old really fast and got injured, in the Yankees and the Red Sox. The Blue Jays are a bunch of choke artists who may sneak into the playoffs, but barely, if at all. And
I'm sorry, Mike. I mean, again, if they make the playoffs, they've earned the playoffs.
Right, but they're a bunch of choke artists.
They're not a choke artist if you make the playoffs, Mike. We have to get this straight now, because now if they're going to choke in the playoffs, that's a different story. But they're not in the playoffs yet. But if they make the playoffs, you're not a choke artist.
Choke artist.
They're actually having one of their better years. They're strong. They're proving themselves that they belong in the playoffs. Every time there's a close game that could kick them out of the race, they come right back with wins.
I mean, Springer has been mostly healthy. He still gets hurt, but
he's been a spark plug on top of that lineup. Bassett has been the Bassett that we saw with the Mets.
Bassett's been really good for them. The Mets missed him, man.
He's a workhorse that they needed. They should never let him go last year.
Guerrero has disappointed and has been hurt. Bichette has disappointed.
Bichette is having one of his better years. He's actually having a good year.
But he's gotten hurt.
Where it's at today.
He has gotten hurt.
Yeah, he's gotten hurt, and that's the problem. And I know that and Bassett. I mean, Alek Manoah has been a complete and utter unmitigated disaster. I mean, honestly, they were supposed to be a lot better than they have been, and right now they're hanging on by their fingernails. And I know a few people who would like to see them fall, but we'll see if that happens.
Their rotation is right on point right now. You're talking about Kikuchi.
Kikuchi's
he's hurt.
They got Bassett.
Yeah, but he'll probably be back for the playoffs.
And they got Gossman. They got 4 big-time guys. They could make a big, seriously upset there in the playoffs coming up.
They won't win for 10 years. That's my That's my prediction.
Where have I heard that before?
Let's talk about the Rays and Shane McClanahan and the rest. Margot, if he's playing and healthy, he's usually pretty good. They, again, 97 wins so far. It's a pretty good year. Do they have any chance of winning it all, Nico?
No, not at all.
None.
The Astros. When they get beat the Astros.
All right, we're not there yet. We're saving this for last. Okay. I'm asking about the Rays and Josh Lowe and guys like that.
The Rays are the up-and-coming dynasty of the Yankees, what they used to build. The Rays have proven that they're going to be there. They were there last couple of years. Now they're cemented in there. They're going to make a deep, deep run into this thing. Are they ready for that World Series win? We'll see. If they can beat the Astros, they can win it all.
I mean, Andrew Vaughn, Josh Lowe, they do have a decent lineup, Mike. What do you think?
I think that the two things that crippled them, obviously, I mean, McClanahan getting hurt, and I mean, unless things have changed, I mean,
I'm not sure he's out for the year though.
Yeah, well, the speculation was when he went down was that he was done for the year. Now, if they try to bring him back in the playoffs, then I mean, you have a rotation with Glasnow and Eflin. It's not, it's not like, I mean, if McClanahan has to be at the top of the rotation,
Oh no,
and
he got Tommy John, so he is out for the
yeah,
year. Okay.
so yeah, I thought
wasn't
that he
sure.
was.
Okay.
Now, but it was a double whammy. One, McClanahan, and two, the disaster that is the Wander Franco situation. So
Yes.
he's probably never playing in Major League Baseball again unless he's cleared of these allegations. And
I agree.
we have not heard a peep out of it since it broke. So I mean, obviously they're going to make the playoffs, and obviously they have some good players. Like Harold Ramirez is having a really good year. Yandy Diaz is a pretty decent player. They've got some decent, contributors throughout their lineup. I just don't know if there's enough there. I do think, a team like the Astros with their playoff pedigree have a chance, but I think there are two or three teams in the American League that have a better chance to win and come out of the AL than the Astros do.
All right, now we get to the Astros, and Nico thinks they're going to win, and they're not winning anything. Nothing.
Nope.
This is not their year. They barely made it in.
Now you're saying they're going to have a first-round exit.
I didn't say that. Did you hear me say that? I just said they're not going to win.
Not winning anything. Oh, so that you're talking
win
about
anything means the title.
Right.
Okay.
The World Series.
What? For them to even be at this point to defend it, they have gone a hard.
Oh, it's a miracle. It's a miracle.
And they're here again. They've gone
God
through
bless the Astros.
You just said
Verlander back. Verlander is their number one ace now.
Yeah, I like Verlander. But Verlander last year.
Javier. It's going to be
okay.
hard.
Let's be real. That last game where Verlander finally got a win in the World Series, he was on fumes. He barely got out of that game alive. Barely.
He looks a lot healthier. Have you seen his last game out? He looks ready and primed.
Yeah, but this is like in the playoffs. It takes a toll on him. It's he was untouchable in the regular season last year, and in the playoffs he had his same old troubles. I'm not going to count on Justin Verlander to win big games. I'm sorry, can't do it.
No, and I love Nico. He's like the Astros are going to win the World Series, but it's a victory if they win a round. It's like make up your mind. It's like, okay, they're not good enough to win the World Series. I think that there are pieces still there. I mean, Altuve is still a professional hitter.
Yeah.
Now Alvarez
Bregman is awesome. He's a great player.
Bregman is awesome. Alvarez isn't having as good a year as he has in the past, and the signing of Jose Abreu was a complete and utter bust. So, I mean, the
Astros don't make any mistakes, Mike. You must be mistaken.
Oh no, yeah, no,
I will agree with that. We have had a challenge with Abreu. Hopefully, he comes in the playoffs. But the year he's had, it's almost time for him to retire.
Yeah, I think it is time. But Nico, your faith in the Astros, I think it's unwarranted this year because they did not have a great year. They didn't. And for a while, it was iffy that they were going to make the playoffs. They had to go on a little bit of a roll here to do it.
They did, and they've endured. And that's what the leadership of Dana Brown brings. When you look at a team who has to defend their title and you look at 162 games, there's going to be a lot of ups and downs. But through it all, if you have a leader like Dana Brown who preaches, fun and preaches wins and getting greedy with it, that's exactly what they've done. They've gotten greedy with their wins, and they're right back at it, and they're going to give it a go. And I feel sorry for who's ever going up against them.
So some breaking news.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Some breaking news. Zach Gallen is going to have to pitch on Friday because the Diamondbacks haven't clinched yet. So as a result, he is going to have to pitch in Game 2 in the playoffs, and that could hurt him. And Hector Neris from the Astros is being, come on in.
He's being investigated.
Yeah, she's fine.
He's being investigated for the homophobic slur that he hurled at Julio Rodriguez.
So he may not even get in the playoffs. Like that could be a big problem for the Astros too. Right.
He supposedly said, "Oh, it was just friendly banter." Yeah, okay. That kind of friendly banter isn't acceptable anymore. I I look at the Astros, and obviously this is not the same team that won a few years ago. It's not the same team that cheated a few years ago. Although who knows? You never know. They may. Cheaters die very hard, But I don't think they're good enough to win the World Series. I think that Baltimore is better, even though Baltimore doesn't have a ton of experience. The experience could mean something in a head-to-head matchup. I just don't think it's their year. I think they maybe win a round, and that's about it.
Nikco, what do you think?
He's muted.
It's going to be one of the greatest World Series again, like we always see every single
We're not
year.
predicting that right now, by the way. There's a whole playoff that has to happen.
So, I'm going to say the Astros and the Dodgers.
We didn't ask you. We didn't ask you for that. Why the hell are you saying it when I just said we're not doing predictions?
What's the color of the sky? Well,
I hope
they're both doing. Dodgers are
I hope they're both eliminated in the first round now, just because you said that.
The Dodgers were eliminated last year in the first round. If they get eliminated again this year in the first round,
it'll take them 10 years to get back.
The Dodgers will be there every year, but they may lose in the first round every year for 10 years.
I don't even know what to say. But no, we'll come back with the show during the playoffs. And then as the playoffs are progressing a little bit, then we could talk about who we think is going to be in the World Series. I think it's better to do it that way. Because we're not even set on the playoffs yet. We don't know.
But
it's actually one of the greatest playoff wild card races we've seen in a while. What a competitive race here.
It's been good.
Both divisions.
The wild card races have been good. Are they a little watered down? Sure. But in the end, they've been pretty good. Games have been pretty good. They've been shorter. People have liked it. Attendance is up. I mean, it's a pretty good year for Major League Baseball. I can't deny that. And like I said, I'm going to go out there Sunday and wish this season a fond farewell
and wave Buck goodbye.
And wave goodbye to Buck and tell him to take that little book and keep it. And maybe he'll look at it in 10 years because I don't know what he's writing down in that little book.
Have Cohen give me a call.
Yeah, I'll have him give you a call. Sure, like he's on speed dial for me.
Yeah.
Just because I have the same last name doesn't mean I know him. Come on.
Come on. Cohen's no Cohens.
No, they don't. No, there's a million Cohens in the world. So, all right, that's it for the game. We'll catch everybody next time.
My man.
Bye.
Today's